You all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. On Gravitas tonight, our top story focuses on a major revelation. The US government quietly approved Israel's military campaign in Lebanon. The question is, what explains this massive hypocrisy? What more is known about what's really going on behind the scenes? Where are things headed in West Asia? We decode this and more. And here's a look at what else is lined up for you on Gravitas tonight. Will the NATO change under its new leader? What does the appointment of the new leader mean for the Russia-Ukraine war? Is this the end of the era of cheap burgers? We are serving a special report to you in just a bit. A stabbing incident in China has sent shockwaves across the country. We get you the complete story. All this and lots more coming your way. It's 9 p.m. IST and we are coming to you live with some breaking news coming in from West Asia. As per the latest reports, the US has warned of an imminent attack on Israel from Iran. That's the information that's just trickling in, with far-reaching implications for the entire region and beyond. Let's tell you what a senior US administration official has said. Iran is preparing to imminently launch a ballistic missile attack on Israel. In fact, White House officials did not immediately offer any evidence as such, backing its intelligence finding. At this point, my colleague Susan Teherani with us on the broadcast for more inputs. Susan, what more can you share with us at this point? This, of course, is a major development coming with far-reaching implications.
Far-reaching implications indeed, Molly, but it was something that was anticipated after the killing of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah Iran's strongest proxy in the Middle East. Lloyd Austin, the U.S. Secretary of Defense, did warn Iran on Monday that Iran would face, quote unquote, serious consequences if it decided to launch a direct military attack against Israel. This comes, as you mentioned, the United States believing that Iran will launch those ballistic attacks against Israel. It's not clear whether or not it will be from Iranian soil or from one of its proxies outside of Iran, but this Iranian attack seems to be looming. Something that U.S. officials are looking into is the technology that Iran wants to use regarding these ballistic missile attacks and what kind of missiles will go towards Israel. So that's going to be very important as well. Consequences and circumstances always could change. This attack could not happen immediately, but it is widely believed here in the United States that Iran at least needs to retaliate in some form after that attack by Israel against Hassan Nasrallah.
Indeed, Susan, this entire dynamic also bringing to the fore that question that has come up multiple times over the last couple of weeks, how the U.S. has, A, not perhaps done enough, and B, not been able to deter Israel as far as its operation is concerned. At the same time, talking about how there is a need for a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. The questions that have been raised over America's role and how it does have a lot to do with where things stand right now.
Yeah, well, this is the double standard and this sort of walking on eggshell policy that we've seen with the Biden administration throughout the last 3 years. This is not an isolated incident. I do want to say that they were very cautious with that 21-day ceasefire plan that was put forth by the White House and by the French to say that there has to be some sort of ceasefire between the government of Lebanon and the government of Israel. The problem is there is no government of Lebanon, and if there was, that's not the party that's in fight with Israel. So it's Hezbollah against Israel. For the United States, it wants to say that these comments are authentic, but on the other hand, in the eyes of the United States and its allies, Israel carried out one of the most successful anti-terror attacks against Hezbollah in recent days, considering the fact that Hezbollah is on the list of state-sponsored terrorists at the State Department here in the United States. So there is so much only that the United States can say. And despite President Biden's claims that he's calling for, some kind of negotiated settlement, these words ring hollow because they really don't have any meaning in the wider context of geopolitics and where these countries stand.
Right. Susan, what more can you tell us about what's happening behind the scenes as far as America's efforts go at this point to try and get things under control?
With this ground invasion from the IDF, the United States claimed yesterday that over the weekend it had talked to Israeli officials and the IDF had assured the United States that this ground incursion into Lebanon that's happening right now is going to be targeted and it's not going to be wide scale. That's as much information that we have from the State Department. How much of that is really true? Well, we don't know. It's yet to be seen. But one thing that we're seeing on the ground, unfortunately, is the mass exodus of Lebanese and the Lebanese population. Over 1 million, according to the United Nations, which are being displaced in the country as we speak.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Susan Tehrani getting us those inputs. Thanks very much for now. And we are delving deeper into what's going on in West Asia, specifically speaking about how America and the way it has been fooling the world in a way has been exposed. In fact, America's blatant hypocrisy as far as the Gaza war is concerned. Also, its unwavering support for Israel are no secrets. But now, fresh developments have triggered a series of major questions. Despite publicly advocating for a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, like we just discussed, it has been revealed that the U.S. government quietly approved Israel's military campaign in Lebanon. The U.S. has secretly backed Israel's ground invasion of Lebanon, while all the while asking both Israel and Hezbollah to de-escalate. Let's tell you more. According to the American news outlet Politico, senior White House figures privately assured Israel of America's support for its decision to intensify the military pressure against Hezbollah. Remember, this is in complete contradiction to what the Biden administration has been publicly saying. Publicly, the White House officials have called for Israel to reduce strikes in Lebanon. So what explains the doublespeak? As per the report, presidential advisor Amos Hochstein and White House coordinator for West Asia Brett McGurk communicated to top Israeli officials that Washington endorsed Netanyahu's strategy. What was that really? Well, it was to refocus Israel's military efforts against Hezbollah in the north. They believed that this way the Iran-backed group can be compelled to enter diplomatic talks in order to resolve the conflict. Ironic, isn't it? Seeing as this strategy basically involves bombing Hezbollah first to bring them to the talking table. But it looks like the irony was not lost on all of them. The report says that not everyone in the Biden administration was on board with Netanyahu's bomb Hezbollah strategy. In fact, as per the report, the decision to focus on Hezbollah sparked divisions within the U.S. government, drawing opposition from people inside the Pentagon, the State Department, and the intelligence community. They believed Israel's move against the Iran-backed group could drag American forces into yet another conflict in West Asia, but it has escalated into a wider conflict. Have a look at this map. You see the red blinking dots? These are all the places where strikes and attacks have been reported in at least the last 24 hours. It includes Israel. It is fighting wars on 3 of its 5 fronts. Remember, amid the fight against Hamas in the Gaza Strip and the Houthis in Yemen, Israel has also started its ground invasion of Lebanon against Hezbollah. The Israeli military has said that its troops have started limited raids against Hezbollah targets in the border area. Local residents reported heavy Israeli shelling and the sound of helicopters and drones overhead. Flares were repeatedly launched over the Lebanese border towns, lighting up the night sky. The opening of multiple fronts comes ahead of the first anniversary of the October 7 attack on Israel by Hamas. What began as a surprise attack on Israel by the Gaza-based Palestinian group has evolved into a broader and more volatile situation. It has encompassed both state and non-state actors, and it's been almost 1 year now. For Israel, this war has been about more than just retaliation for the Hamas attack. It has become a war of survival despite international calls for de-escalation. And Israel is showing no signs of slowing down, by the way. In fact, on Monday, Prime Minister Netanyahu warned in comments directed to Iran that there was nowhere beyond Israel's reach. Netanyahu, speaking in English in a 3-minute-long video, basically blamed the conflict with Iran for driving the region deeper into war, quote-unquote. Listen in.
There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There's nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country. With every passing moment, the regime is bringing you, the noble Persian people, closer to the abyss.
Now, this warning from Netanyahu basically came 2 days after Israeli military killed the leader of Hezbollah. As per the report by Politico, Israeli officials indicated that their military was getting ready to make a change during discussions and meetings held in mid-September. It has been reported that Hochstein and McGurk communicated to their Israeli counterparts that despite still advising caution, the timing seemed right for such a move, particularly as Hezbollah had appeared to have weakened in the preceding months. Now, while Hezbollah had previously stated that it would only engage with Israel if it reached a ceasefire with Hamas, U.S. assessments at that time suggested that Hamas was unlikely to agree to a ceasefire anytime soon. And this basically meant that it could be a moment to shift the focus more towards Hezbollah alone and separate the two conflicts. The report stresses that American officials knew little of exactly what Israel was planning. It seems that even as they supported Israel pressurizing Hezbollah, they urged caution. They warned that if Israel went too far, it could risk escalating the situation into an all-out regional war. But you see, that position seems a little hard to understand when you see the mounting civilian death toll in Lebanon. So what is it really? Is America confused about its policy? Does it truly believe in diplomacy, or does it support Israeli attacks against Hezbollah? Is the US pursuing multiple things at the same time? What line is the Washington towing? What's going on? Israel's fight with Hezbollah began the day after Hamas's October 7 attack last year. Hezbollah had started firing rockets, remember, from Lebanon into Israel. It had eventually forced tens of thousands of civilians to flee the area on both sides. The White House is walking a very fine line. The Biden administration wants to back Israel's actions against a US-designated terror group responsible for American deaths and regional threats. However, it is unwilling to fully or openly endorse Israel's campaign. And why is that, you ask? Could it be concerned about encroaching too far into Lebanese territory, sparking a full-scale war? When asked in a Monday press conference if he was okay with Israel's targeted ground raids in Lebanon, the president responded, "I am comfortable with them stopping. We should have a ceasefire now," quote unquote. But negotiations regarding the ceasefire proposal announced by the US last week basically halted as Israel continues to target Hezbollah's positions across the Lebanese border. And now, with the Israeli special forces crossing the border to target Hezbollah's tunnel network and other command centers, the situation has obviously escalated further by the looks of it. It's not a matter of can Israel be stopped? Can the West Asia conflict be stopped? It's a matter of whether any of the parties involved are actually willing to give up the gun. Let's now talk about Russia's growing military might. Russia is pouring vast resources into its military. At the center of this military expansion is basically a Kremlin decree that came out on Monday, according to which the Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered the conscription of 133,000 new servicemen. This draft will run from the 1st of October until the end of the year. Reports say young men between the ages of 18 and 30 will serve in the military units across Russia for 12 months, adding another wave of manpower to the already substantial Russian army. But you see, there is something important to note here. These conscripts are not being sent to fight in Ukraine, and this raises an even bigger question. Why does Russia actually need these many new soldiers, and what is it preparing for? Let's just look at the bigger picture here. This is not just about drafting more men into the army. In fact, Putin has already ordered a massive expansion of the military, remember, calling for 180,000 additional troops and aiming to bring the total number of active servicemen to 1.5 million. 1.5 million. Let that sink in. 1.5 million active troops, making it the second largest military force in the world. So what's really driving this massive increase in military might? Russia has not given out the exact reason behind the conscription, but despite what Russia really says, recent history indicates that the autumn conscription drive is likely to be linked to the ongoing war in Ukraine ahead of winter, a period in which both sides target each other's energy infrastructure and distribution lines to affect transportation of key items like food grains, agriculture items, amid severely cold and harsh conditions in the northern hemisphere. You see, Russia has done similar such conscriptions in the past. Despite Russia initially stating otherwise, conscripts were still reportedly deployed along the Russia-Ukraine border and could be called upon to sign contracts and be battle-ready. The war, which began in 2022, continues to drag on with no end in sight. Despite the heavy losses both in manpower as well as equipment, Russia has no intention really of backing down, it seems. In fact, reports suggest that it's only doubling down. The Kremlin, as per reports, is pumping in more money than ever into its defense sector, making it clear that military strength remains a top priority. By 2025, defense spending will hit a record 13.5 trillion rubles. That's about $120 billion. Just to put that in perspective, that's 25% more than what Russia is spending this year, which was already a record, by the way, 25% more. And this is happening despite the enormous economic pressures caused by the Western sanctions. You see, Russia's leaders have embraced what economists call military Keynesianism. What's that? Essentially, it means that the government is channeling vast sums of money into the military, which is having a ripple effect across the entire economy. It's driving inflation, yes, but it's also fueling economic growth in some sectors, particularly those tied to military production. In Moscow, it seems the narrative is quite clear. Putin has repeatedly said that all of Russia's objectives in Ukraine will be met, perhaps fueled by recent gains on the battlefield, particularly in eastern Ukraine. But this is not just about winning the war in Ukraine anymore. The Kremlin perhaps sees this as a larger, more existential struggle, a standoff with the West that demands a much larger, more powerful military. And that's exactly what they seem to be building. The numbers further speak for themselves. Russia's massive investment in its military and defense sector now accounting for nearly 40% of the government's total spending. That's a staggering amount. Now, let's focus on the economy specifically. Despite sanctions and the lack of access to Western markets, as per reports, Russia's economy is showing signs of solid growth. Industrial output, largely driven by military production, is reportedly rising. In fact, in July alone, industrial production was up 3.3%. And overall, Russia's GDP grew by 4.6% in the first half of this year, reportedly much higher than expected. Amid all these developments, the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. Reports say Russian forces have captured the village of Nelipivka on the eastern Ukrainian front line. Ukraine's general staff reportedly did not disclose any details about the fall of the village, but acknowledged that Russian forces launched 10 attacks in and around it. Meanwhile, Russia launched multiple drone attacks targeting Kiev in nearly a 5-hour-long attack, according to reports. Ukraine's military has said the drones were either destroyed by defense systems or neutralized. No casualties or damage were reported in the incident so far. And as the war continues, one thing seems to be clear. Russia is gearing up for a long, prolonged conflict. Its military is expanding at an unprecedented rate, and its economy has fully shifted into war mode. Our next story has to do with Sadhguru, a well-known spiritual guru with a large global following. His organization, the Isha Foundation, is currently facing questions. In fact, just today, 150 police officers searched his ashram in Tamil Nadu, India. This occurred a day after the Madras High Court requested a report on all criminal cases filed against the foundation. Now, you might be wondering, why a spiritual organization which offers yoga programs and promotes a more spiritual way of living is under investigation. What could have led to such scrutiny for this organization? What's behind this heightened level of examination? Well, there is a trigger for this level of scrutiny. The Madras High Court had ordered the Coimbatore Rural Police to conduct an inquiry and file a report while hearing a petition filed by a certain Dr. S. Kamaraj. He is a retired professor and father of 2 daughters who he claims were being held captive at the foundation in Coimbatore. You heard that right. A father has challenged Sadhguru and his organization in court for quote-unquote brainwashing his well-educated daughters. Professor Kamaraj alleges that the organization was brainwashing people, converting them into monks and then restricting their contact with their families. Professor Kamaraj, who taught at the Tamil Nadu Agricultural University in Coimbatore, had filed a petition seeking appearance of his daughters in person in the court. His daughters, aged 42 and 39, appeared in the court on Monday. They said that they were staying at the Isha Foundation out of their own will. They stressed that they were not being detained. But here's the thing. The 2 women had given similar testimonies in the past in the decade-old case. Their parents have claimed that their lives had become hell since the daughters, quote-unquote, abandoned them. So how has the court reacted? The Madras court bench decided to probe the case further. The bench directed the police to compile a list of all cases related to the Isha Foundation. The judges questioned the apparent contradictions in the life of Jaggi Vasudev, that is the real name of Sadhguru. Justices S.M. Subramaniam and S.V. Shivaganam questioned why Sadhguru, who had successfully arranged his daughter's marriage, was promoting the idea of other young women shaving their heads and renouncing worldly life at his yoga centers. The court also inquired about Sadhguru's encouragement for women to live as hermits at his yoga centers. In his petition to the court, Professor Kamaraj outlined the professional achievements of his daughters before they joined the foundation. He mentioned that his elder daughter, who held a postgraduate degree from a prestigious UK university, had a substantial salary before divorcing her husband in the year 2008. Following her divorce, she began attending yoga classes at the foundation. His younger daughter, a software engineer, followed her sister and eventually chose to stay at the center permanently. The petition alleged that the foundation provided food and medicines to his daughters that impaired their cognitive abilities, leading them to sever all ties with their family. Now that is a serious accusation, an accusation that simply cannot be taken lightly. But you see, it does not end there. The petition also spoke about a POSCO case against a doctor working at the foundation. For our global audience, it is the acronym for Protection of Children Against Sexual Offences Act of 2012. According to the court order, the allegation against the said person was that he molested 12 girls studying in the Adivasi government school. Now, these again are some very serious charges, and this is why the court decided to probe the case further. The court has directed the cops to compile a list of all cases related to the Isha Foundation. You see, although Professor Kamaraj's daughters insisted that their stay at the foundation was voluntary, the judges were not entirely convinced. The counsel representing Isha Foundation said that the adults have the right to make their own decisions about their lives, including the choice to embrace a spiritual path. He argued that the court's inquiry into such personal decisions was unnecessary as the women were clearly acting of their own free will. But the judges spoke about the apparent hostility between the daughters and their parents. Justice Subramaniam told the daughters, and I'm quoting here, "You claim to be on the path of spirituality. Don't you think that neglecting your parents is a sin? Love all and hate none is the principle of devotion. but we could see so much hatred in you for your parents. Are you not even addressing them respectfully? You are not even addressing them respectfully. But there is more to the story here. The Petitioners' Council argued that criminal cases involving Isha Foundation had been filed in the past. In fact, past cases suggesting a pattern of misconduct and legal violations. In April this year, it was reported that 6 people reportedly went missing from the Isha Foundation Center since 2016. But it's unclear if any of them returned. This is what the police told the Madras High Court. The police made that submission before a division bench during the hearing of another petition filed by a man seeking the whereabouts of his brother. The man had told the court that his brother, who had been involved in charity work with Isha Foundation since 2007, had gone missing from its center in Coimbatore in March 2023. The Tamil Nadu police told the court that there have been multiple cases of people going missing from the Isha Foundation since 2016. Considering the number of cases against the Isha Foundation, the Madras court has taken matters a step further. With the latest case, the court has directed additional public prosecutor to submit a comprehensive status report by the 4th of October. This report is expected to include all criminal cases pending against the foundation. What does the foundation have to say? They say that they do not ask people to get married or take up monkhood. They say that these are individual choices. But with the greatest respect for the venerable spiritual guru, some tough questions come to mind. How does the Isha Foundation ensure safety and well-being of individuals? Can the foundation address concerns raised about criminal cases, misconduct, the legal violations, the allegations that have been made? What measures does the Isha Foundation have in place to address any potential issues or challenges related to the well-being and personal choices of individuals associated with the organization? There's a long list of questions. Answers may be too hard to find, but some situations do demand some very tough questions. Staying on with India, the country's apex court, the Supreme Court of India, in its order on Tuesday, made it clear that public safety is non-negotiable, even if it means taking down religious structures that encroach on roads, water bodies, or railway tracks. The court said whether it's a temple, a shrine, or any other structure, if it stands in the way of public order and safety, it has to go. Now, this ruling comes as a response to growing concerns over how some states have been handling encroachments. As per reports, recently across India, bulldozer action has gained popularity as a tool against those accused of crimes. Reports say in several Indian states, authorities have brought down properties linked to individuals under investigation for serious crimes. But here's the thing, there has been an increasing perception that these demolitions are disproportionately affecting specific communities, leading to questions over whether this is just a fight against crime or is there more to this. You see, Justice B.R. Gavai and Justice K.V. Vishwanathan, the two-judge bench that delivered Tuesday's ruling, was clear on this matter. I'm quoting, whether it be a temple, dargah, it has to go. Public safety is paramount, quote unquote, signaling a direct message that the law applies equally to all regardless of faith, a reaffirmation of India's secular identity, signaling that no religious structure, no matter how sacred, can override the need to keep the public safe. You see, as per reports, the Solicitor General of India, Tushar Mehta, aware of these concerns, made it clear that being accused of a crime, no matter how heinous, does not automatically justify bulldozer action. In fact, reportedly, he emphasized the need for due process, saying that Notice must be given before any demolition, and it should be sent via registered post to ensure fairness. The latest developments, remember, coming just a month after the Supreme Court passed an interim order saying that no demolitions should occur across the country without its permission. Besides encroachments on public spaces like roads, railway lines or water bodies, the interim order was in effect until the 1st of October, a precursor to the latest directions. Will NATO change under its new leader? The reason we are asking that question is because today the US-led military alliance has a new boss. He was handed over the role officially today at a ceremony in Brussels at the NATO headquarters. Rutte, who is the former Prime Minister of the Netherlands, succeeds Stoltenberg, who has been a strong Ukraine supporter, and on his first day in office, Rutte has declared supporting Ukraine in the war against Russia as his top priority. As tensions between the West and Russia only go up, can Rutte be the key to restoring peace? More importantly, who is Rutte and what does he bring to the table? Our next report getting you all the details.
On October 1st, former Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte officially took over as the boss of NATO. The outgoing head of the military alliance, Jens Stoltenberg, passed the ceremonial gavel to him to mark the occasion. On his first day in office, Rutte admitted that the situation in Ukraine's battlefield is difficult, but that Ukraine's right to self-defense does not end at the border.
Let's not forget, Ukraine is fighting a war of self-defense. And that means that Ukraine has the right to defend itself. So that means that supporting Ukraine's right to self-defense means that it is also possible for them to strike legitimate targets on the aggressor's territory. At the end, it's up to each ally to determine its support for Ukraine.
NATO officials and diplomats expect Rutte to maintain Stoltenberg's priorities, which are 1. Rallying support for Ukraine, 2. Pushing NATO countries to spend more on defense, and 3. Keeping the US engaged in European security. Reacting to the appointment of the new NATO boss, Russia, which long sees NATO as a threat to its security, said that Rutte taking over will not change its policy.
Наше ожидание, что Североатлантический альянс продолжит работать в том же русле, в котором он и работал. Господин Рютте нам хорошо известен. Не один час они вместе провели с президентом Путиным за столом переговоров. В свое время когда-то были надежды на возможность выстраивания добрых, прагматичных отношений.
Rutte replaces Jens Stoltenberg. Over the past 2 years of the war in Ukraine, NATO allies have struggled to agree on long-term funding for the war-battered country. Remember, it is yet to give a timeline for Ukraine to be accepted as a member. Therefore, Rutte's appointment as NATO head is significant. You see, the Ukraine war has also put the spotlight on NATO. It was founded in 1949 to deter and defend any attack on Western Europe by the Soviet Union. Decades later, as the war in Ukraine tests the ties between Russia and the West, it also is a test for NATO. It has prompted NATO members to band together and send weapons to help Ukraine. What's more, as the war shows no signs of abating, NATO has also deployed thousands of troops to its eastern flank and revamped its defense strategy. Rutte's key task will be to persuade NATO members to send more troops, more weapons, and spend more money to fully realize NATO's new defense plans. But can he do that? Experts think he can. After all, his long experience of running coalition governments makes him well suited for the new role. As the chief of the military alliance, Rutte will be expected to serve as a spokesperson-in-chief for the organization. Remember that within NATO, all decisions need to be agreed upon by each member state. Therefore, the scope for Rutte to reshape what NATO does is very limited. Conversely, he could be instrumental in bringing important issues to the agenda for discussion. For many, Reuter's main chance to shape the office will likely come if the political situation gets more heated. A situation like Donald Trump returning as the President of the United States. Remember, Trump has threatened to not protect NATO members and even cut a defense deal with Russia should he win. But Reuter says he is not worried about the outcome. In fact, he welcomes the idea of working with whoever wins, be it Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. Reuter is stepping into a big role. Just as Russia sees the Ukraine war as an existential battle, NATO is also fighting a war for survival. Reuter will need to keep NATO's diverse leaders together at a time of conflict, especially at a time when the alliance is being tested. Can Reuter live up to the expectations? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
On to China now, where a man went on a stabbing rampage. This happened inside a Walmart supermarket in Shanghai. As per reports, 3 people lost their lives, 15 others were injured. What really happened and why did this man go about stabbing people? What do we know about him and what went on? Let's break it all down for you. Here's what we know. According to the police, a 37-year-old man, surnamed Lin, has been taken into custody. What is known so far is that this man may have gone to Shanghai to vent his anger after a private financial disagreement. Reports say that this is according to preliminary inquiries and an investigation is underway. Further details are awaited. Also, this incident happened on the eve of China's week-long National Day holiday. National Day is a holiday celebrated on the 1st of October to mark the formation of the People's Republic of China. So basically, it happened a day before China's National Day Golden Week, when holiday travel was expected to surge. Also, just for perspective here, the district where the knife attack occurred houses several universities and is densely populated. On top of that, the fact that this happened at a supermarket is scarier. Also, what's scary is that this is not an isolated incident. In fact, China has witnessed a string of brutal stabbing incidents in major cities this year. It's a matter of great concern. For instance, in May, a man killed 8 people and injured 1 with a knife in the city of Xiaogan in central Hubei province. In June, 4 U.S. college instructors teaching in China were stabbed while visiting a public park. This was in northeast China's Jilin province. This was a shocking incident that sent alarm bells ringing around the world. Police had said back then that the suspect collided into a foreigner while walking in the park and then stabbed the foreigner and 3 fellow foreigners with a knife, as well as a Chinese tourist who tried to stop him. The educators from Cornell College were on a teaching exchange program with a partner university, Behua, in Jilin City. So today's incident is the latest addition to a series of such terrifying incidents that China has witnessed this year. In fact, over the years, public stabbing incidents have gone up in China, with authorities often putting the blame on mental illness. Children at schools are a common target. In September itself, a 10-year-old Japanese student was fatally stabbed by an attacker meters from his school in the southern Chinese city of Shenzhen. Mount Everest, already the tallest peak on the planet, is still rising and faster than scientists initially believed. Our next report explaining how Everest's growth spurt is outpacing expectations, making this towering giant even more formidable.
Standing at a staggering 8.85 kilometers above sea level, Everest is not just the crown jewel of the Himalayas, but a symbol of nature's power. The icy, desolate environment of Mount Everest, where climbers struggle against freezing temperatures and oxygen deprivation, now holds an even more daunting challenge. The glittering peak has long been the ultimate challenge for mountaineers, but that steep climb may get even more steeper. Formed around 50 million years ago by the collision of the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates, This process is still very much alive, with the Indian plate continuing to push north at about 2 inches per year, driving Everest upward. Now, cutting-edge research published in Nature Geoscience has revealed a startling truth. Everest is outpacing even the most liberal growth projections. This accelerated vertical expansion isn't merely a result of the ongoing tectonic tensions alone. Scientists have uncovered an additional factor contributing to Everest's skyward ambitions: the erosive power of neighboring rivers. The mountain is experiencing an unexpected boost through a fascinating geological phenomenon known as isostatic rebound. As the merged rivers carve away at the surrounding landscape, they are essentially lightening the load on the Earth's crust. This reduction in weight causes the land to rise, much like a boat bobbing higher in water when cargo is removed. Over the past 89,000 years, this process has gifted Everest an extra 15 to 50 meters in height, a trend that shows no signs of abating. While landslides and natural events occasionally cause some loss of material, the upward force from tectonic activity and isostatic rebound far outweighs any losses. The rivers sneaking through the valleys around Everest continue to erode the land, fueling this remarkable process. The surrounding peaks, while impressive, only serve to highlight Everest's dominance as it steadily claims more altitude. While Everest is rising due to geological changes, in Europe, human activity is causing some new calculations in the Alps. Italy and Switzerland are redrawing some portions of their border as the glaciers which cover them are gradually melting. While boundaries are usually fixed, but in this icy terrain, the Swiss-Italian border are defined by glaciers and snowfields, which are witnessing dramatic changes due to climate change. Switzerland is losing glaciers at an alarming pace. It lost 4% of its glaciers last year. The situation is more or less same across Europe. Europe is the world's fastest warming continent, and the impact on its glaciers has been stark. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
America's favorite fast food item is seeing an unprecedented price rise, and that is hurting meat lovers. Since the McDonald brothers introduced 15-cent burgers in 1948, it has become an American staple like voting and the high school prom, and these days that is an entitlement drifting out of reach for many Americans. Our next report taking a closer look at this.
Are we seeing the end of the cheap burger? Meat eaters are now preparing for a new expensive era of fast food reality in America. The reason? Rising costs of everything, from meat to basic ingredients. According to food expert Technomics Ignite menu data, fast food burgers cost on average $8.41 in the June quarter of 2024. That is up 16% from about 5 years ago. In June, McDonald's Big Macs cost $5.29 on average. That is up 21% from 2019. The Big Mac cost is without fries and drinks. The Golden Arches deals, value meals and buy one get one seem to be working. Other fast food chains followed soon after. To assume the value wars mean inexpensive burgers for everybody is to misinterpret meat, not fast food. August ground beef prices in US cities reached a record $5.58 per pound. This indicates the cow herd's historically low numbers. The herd has declined since 2019, reaching a 73-year low in January. In its previous quarter reports, the business reported the first sales dip in 4 years due to rising burger prices. This has deterred low-income customers. Americans may ultimately have to readjust to a pre-McDonald's reality. Beef is an expensive delicacy to be enjoyed from time to time. Even those exclusive restaurants with high prices on their menu are feeling the fallout of climate change. This included a shrinking supply amid drought and higher operating costs. It shows up in higher prices for them too. This leaves them to find creative ways to squeeze more dollars out of every cow. Business Bureau report, WION World is One.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.